Welcome to the REI Agent, a holistic approach to life through real estate. I'm Mattias, an agent and investor.
And I'm Erica, a licensed therapist.
Join us as we interview guests that also strive to live bold and fulfilled lives through business and real estate investing.
Tune in every week for interviews with real estate agents and investors.
Ready to level up?
Let's do it.
Welcome back to the REI Agent. It is just the Mattias episode today. Super excited about our guest, but before I get into it, I want you to know why I'm so smiley and chipper today. I have pushed through a pretty big problem in a real estate transaction. It's a flip that we've had problems with for a long time. In December, we would have owned this house for 2 years, and there's just been nonstop dead ends, headaches, problems in this process. That evicting a tenant, just the list goes on. There's been so many problems with this, and it has been one of those things that I was like, I don't care if I make a profit on this thing anymore. I just want to be out. I just want to be done with this. We're going to still make I have a partner in this, but we're still going to make a little bit of a profit on it, and so it's in hindsight totally not worth it. But feels so good to get past. And it's a big learning experience. Like there's things that you learn when you take on projects like this. Also, I think there's just the reward feeling you get for persevering to get through hard things. I think that is, again, something that's so important to our well-being. I think that putting hardship in your way and getting past it is one of the best ways to feel happy. And the hardship doesn't have to be a huge headache problem. And hopefully I'm not going to get another one like that. But solving problems, overcoming obstacles, that could be a workout. That could be doing a puzzle. That could be doing Sudoku. I mean, that stuff is why those things are kind of addicting, because they feel good when you complete it. They feel good when you solve it, when you get through it, when you push through it. You have that focus, that flow state that you get into, that is something that gives you positive feelings. So I think that to anyone who is struggling with depression, anxiety, those kind of things, and Erica's gonna, I hope she doesn't hear this. She's gonna be like rolling her eyes, like he's not qualified to talk about this. I just feel like often the default is to make things easier on yourself. And I think there is a lesson, or there is truth to lowering the standard, lowering the bar so that you can accomplish something. So we talked about this in the past, but if you are struggling to, get through, to clean your house, to provide food for your kids, to provide food for yourself, using plastic plates and silverware so that you don't have to worry about the dishes for a period of time to get you to function, I think that stuff is okay. But also, I think it's important that you do put you put some challenges in front of yourself to accomplish things that you can accomplish, that you can feel good about, and so that's probably the key right there. Is if you fed yourself and you cleaned up, throwing away the plastic plates, that's going to feel a lot better than having the dishes in the dishwasher or in the sink or on the table or whatever, and you don't have the energy to clean them up. So I think getting through that hard stuff is just, again, so vital. So today I wrote 3,000 words. I solved a big problem. I worked out. I had a podcast, and now I feel like $1 million. I want to go, run through the golf course naked. Watch out, HOA. Here comes Mattias. I'm not actually going to do that. Maybe I will. No. But anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about our guest today. We have Ali Garced. I think I said that right. I apologize, Ali, if I got that wrong. I said it right when we were coming on live. It always makes me think graced, which is definitely not right, but I think it's Garced. Anyway, Ali is a really interesting guest. She is former military. She is selling houses in Tucson and in St. Paul. So think about that for a second, right? She's licensed in 2 different states. Those places are not close to another, and she's selling houses in both places. So she'll get into that a little bit as well, but she's also huge into getting lead generation off of YouTube. and she has free content that you can get to figure that world out if you're interested. It has a lot of great information about it on this podcast, and she's got a lot of information that you can look her up and find as well. So without any further ado, we got Ali. Welcome back to the REI Agent. We are here with Ali Garced out of St. Paul and Tucson, Arizona.
And Tucson, yep.
Thanks so much for joining us in this, in-between space that you are in. Let's start there. Like, how is that? How are you licensed in both places? Those are pretty far apart. Do you like snowbird in Tucson, or what's the deal there?
Right. Yeah, I do somewhat split my time between the two, but overall I just got used to just moving around. And which, by the way, thank you so much for having me. I should start it off with that.
Oh yeah, of course.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me. I spent a decade as an active duty officer in the Air Force. So from there, I moved around. Yeah, I moved like 10, 11 times. So I got used to, uprooting my life every single 8 to 13 months ish. And that also helped me on my investing journey. But my last duty station was in Tucson, Arizona. And that's where I knew that I wanted to separate after 10 years. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Eventually figured it out. I want to be a full-time real estate agent. I did it side by side while I was still active duty. So I was a special agent working for the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, investigating criminal felony level cases, as well as being a real estate agent.
Wow.
And that's where I saw that I could make a lot more money. And I liked it. I like being a real estate agent a lot more than being a special agent. So that's where I started. I first got licensed in Tucson, Arizona. And since then I moved.
Okay. Got it. That's awesome. That's a whole topic to talk about as well. Like, how do you move your license? How do you restart your business? I mean, was that difficult, that transition?
No, it wasn't actually. So that's the reason, knowing that I wasn't going to stay in Tucson, Arizona forever, I have no family there. I have a couple of friends now, but I didn't at the time, when I first moved there. I knew Arizona was never a forever play. So that's actually one of the biggest reasons why I joined the brokerage that I did. So I didn't have to restart at a new, a local team and hope that the vibe was the same, hope that the culture was the same, because it's not going to be the same. So with the brokerage that I joined, it was going to be the same crew no matter where in the world that I want to live in. So that was like one of the predominant factors of me choosing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then like for business, are you out there getting leads from a certain source, or like how do you actively find these? I mean, because that would have required you to restart kind of your business as well to go to a different location.
Definitely. Yeah. My lead gen strategy completely changed. When I was in the military, going in on base every single day, in-person meetings, it was a lot of face-to-face interactions, and you develop that level of trust typically faster than you can otherwise, especially, so I moved to Minnesota, which is where I'm at now. The only people that I know are my wife's parents. That's it. So I'm also still, I'm not from here, don't have friends, also still brand new, starting over. Yeah. But because of that, because I no longer have the in-person active duty military job, my lead generation strategy starting out was a lot of in-person, but mainly outbound DMs on social media. Okay. And now I'm switching over to predominantly YouTube videos, long form, not short. If I were to start over and, just completely start over, I would not have spent so much time focused on short form content and posting every single day like I did for the last 3 years. Instead, I would have focused on more concentrated efforts on bigger, longer form, beefier videos to showcase my personality, have a strong call to action of, hey, book a call with me if you want to work with me, because it's been working so far in Tucson. And that's how I'm still able to sell homes from afar and not even live there in the state anymore.
Wow. Okay. So what's beefier?
Beefier, just more value, the more value. Yeah.
I misunderstood you. That's so what's long form is like that 20 minutes plus, or how, what kind of content are you putting out?
Yeah, yeah. And you'll be surprised, 20 minutes scares a lot of agents, but I promise you, if you have lived in a city for more than 5 days, you can talk about it for 20 minutes. I promise. Like, I'm not the type of person that just babbles and talks and just likes to hear my own voice. I only want to say enough to like showcase the value and not have to reiterate it, because that tends to be annoying on the listener side. I know, because we all know that person that just talks the same sentence but somehow says it 14 times.
Yeah.
So it's figuring out, what do the buyers or the sellers in your city want to know? How can you present it with your personality? So like, I still feel like now YouTube is still such an untapped market. Even if you go on your YouTube and you search real estate homes for sale, even if there are 20 agents doing it, compare that to the number of people that are sending mailers and door knocking and cold calling and cold texting. Like, you can stand out. So that's why I'm such a huge proponent of YouTube.
That's fascinating. I actually was just at a conference where somebody was talking about all the different ways that they do YouTube. They weren't real estate specific though. They actually bought YouTube channels and turned them into like, they might buy a channel for $250,000 and then like be able to generate, $100,000 to $200,000 a year then from it, which was not even something I even considered like as a possibility before. So that's really fascinating. I mean, they say that YouTube is the second biggest search engine, right? So
it is. Yeah. The number 2 biggest website in the world. And number 1, of course, is Google, and Google owns YouTube. So that's great to have like a business profile on Google, but even better is showcasing you, your face, your hair, your personality, your booger on your nose. Like, dude, anything, like showcase you.
Yeah, actually, I think I saw a reel of yours that you had maybe like a I don't know if they were earbuds or some sort of cord around your ear. Like, you know what I'm talking about?
Was it around my forehead, creating a unibrow?
Yes. Yeah. So that was a visual hook. Was that the idea there?
Yes, it's something. So I took a quick course of Adley's. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's a YouTuber and creates like, and she's not on the business side, but she creates just like short form content just to hook people. Yeah. And her audience, her clients, are those that are trying to make money just from Facebook and Instagram. Okay. So I took that to kind of diversify and not just continue to take real estate agent courses. I want like to expand and like take in more knowledge from other industries. Mm-hmm. So not saying that cord is like the perfect way to do it, but when you're starting a video, especially for short form, which is a completely different ball game than long form, short form, it's meant to stop the scroll. So if you can combine 2 things that don't go with each other, like you're starting the video while, first of all, always doing an action, never just straight talking head, unlike long form YouTube where you can do that because people are there to learn and stick around for a long time. Okay. But for short form, if you start off saying, hey, sellers are losing actually a lot of money right now, as you're like sticking your spoon in a thing of mayo and eating it, people are like, what the hell? And they stick around, so just combining 2 things that like don't go together to stop the scroll.
I'm gonna try that.
Yeah. And of course, like you could put ice cream before that, but like, so that way you're not actually eating mayo, but to everyone else, it's like, what is he doing? I need to stick around.
Thank you for that tip you saved me. I've noticed this more and more on short form content that they'll purposely say a word wrong. And that it's just like, if you go to the comments, everybody's gonna be pointing it out. And it's like, they're getting engagement. It's, they did that on purpose.
Yes, exactly. Or like purposely having your zipper down. I mean, so there are some things that like, again, it's like you'd maybe not want to do that if you're trying to get business and clients, but like, exactly. Yeah. But there is a way to like put your own spin on it too.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really fascinating. So yeah, let's get into the YouTube a little bit more. Like, so if I were, so first of all, I'm in a smaller town. So we are a college town, and so we don't have maybe quite as much to cover as somebody like from St. Paul, Minneapolis, Tucson. Those are all much bigger areas. So what would be some content ideas that I could go out and create a video off of? What's the target time for long form? Is it 20 minutes plus, or what's the target?
It's around 12.
Okay.
So
it could be a little bit shorter.
yeah. Short answer is around 12. Long answer is the longer you can make a video without with still keeping those viewers. So again, it's like value packed as much as you can all the way to the end, give them a reason to stick around to the end. And with YouTube specifically, they massively reward the creator that doesn't just make a video where people watch to the end, but then also where that the viewer clicks one of their other videos on their channel. Okay. So a couple ways to do it is I'm doing the number 2 best ROI to sell your house for the most and net the most. So at the end of my number 2, my call to action is going to be, and if you want the number 1 best ROI that you can do before you list your house in the market, watch this video over here. I'll see you there. So it's a lot of just just the most tactical information that you can bring. And I think a lot of agents get scared too, where they think maybe the more that they give away, the less people are going to need them. But I really have found the opposite. The more you give away, yes, people are going to use your information and not use you as an agent. That's fine. They weren't going to use you anyway. So at least it saves you the time of going down the rabbit hole of trying to chase a lead. But overall, YouTube attracts people to you. They're booking calls on my Calendly in my sleep, and it's amazing. They're not going to choose any other agent because they liked me. Vice versa, if someone books a call with someone else because they like a more analytical or they like a more, I don't know, anything. Personality is what's going to attract the people that end up becoming friends. So not only is it you get calls, leads, people booking on your calendar, but it's a better, more fun transaction overall. So it's a win-win-win.
Yeah, because you're attracting people that would be vibing with your personality before you talk to them. So you're not forcing. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's my main goal is to work with people who want to work with me that I want to work with. It's more fun that way, right?
Yes. 80-20 rule.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so that's a really interesting idea. There's definitely, I can think of a few different resources. I know that NAR puts out the buyer profile, that kind of stuff where you could probably pull some ideas from. I've seen lists of the best ROI on what improvement is a new roof or is a new paint or whatever, new countertops going to get you. So my mind's already kind of starting. And do you make it specific then to your area? What's the best ROI in St. Paul? Is that kind of the lead or?
Yeah, super good question. Okay, I'm glad that you brought it back to this because I didn't answer that first part of the question. So yes, I do. But you can also not. Right. So to make it more clear, you can have a channel before you start your channel. You want to make sure you know exactly who you're talking to, and of course, you've heard this before, but it's more specific. Do you want to talk about College Station, Texas, or what it's like to move there, or do you want to focus on listing your home to net the most? So focus on sellers. It's kind of hard to have a channel that fits both because you're attracting 2 different types of people. So what I do, I have 3 different channels. One for home buyers in Tucson, one for home sellers in St. Paul, and my Ali the Agent channel, which is more of a brand about me, helping real estate agents for free. So actually, by the way, I have a YouTube video on how to create a YouTube channel. I've paid for a bunch of courses too, and I put everything of what I learned for free in that video. So if you want to hit me up, just DM me the word video on Instagram. I'm Ali the Agent, and I'll send that for free. I've spent over $1,000 on just that one video. Wow. But going back to the smaller city versus bigger city, if you are completely in a podunk area, over an hour away, maybe even 2 hours away from the nearest big city, at that point, it may not be worth using the keywords of that big city because it's just too different. But if you are in a far away neighborhood or suburb where people tend to move there, then it is a really, really good idea to start creating those videos with the keywords of Tucson or San Antonio. So in that way, not everyone that looks in San Antonio ends up purchasing in proper San Antonio. So a lot of them, purchase in the neighborhoods outside, or same thing with Denver, especially.
Right.
So you'll want to make a couple of videos like Denver or the suburbs, and then suburb A versus suburb B, suburb C versus D, and like go all the way down. But that's overall the way that I'm thinking about content after paying for a bunch of courses is like 3 different buckets, like top of funnel. So just overall, like what is it like living in Arizona? What is it like moving to Arizona? And then Phoenix versus Tucson. And then I'm going into the top 5 Tucson suburbs and stuff like that, and then narrowing it down. So top of funnel, some middle of the funnel, and bottom of the funnel. Bottom of the funnel would be like your call to action there would be book a call with my link below if you're looking to sell within the next 6 months. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about it.
And then I guess if you were to get somebody attracted to, the top of funnel, they're already reaching out to you, you could always refer that person if they're not going to be buying in an area that you're actually servicing.
Exactly. Yep.
That's really interesting. Now that also seems like a lot of work. If I'm going to be honest, are you out there filming yourself? Do you have all the gear? Do you hire somebody to film, to make these for you, or how do you do that?
Equipment, one of my favorite topics. You can do this on your iPhone. I just got a camera, and it's not even like an actual camera. I still personally think my iPhone records at a higher quality than the DJI Content Creator Combo 3. The word pocket is in there too. That's what I got because it's it's so small. You can just carry it anywhere. You can buy 1 mic or 2 mics with it. But I do a lot of talking head. So you can have channels, and channels perform super well if you do like neighborhood tours or even house tours sometimes. But mine, I'm a big believer of if you can't do it forever, don't even start. So back to my Tucson channel, I wasn't going to be doing neighborhood tours too much. definitely wasn't going to be doing house tours because things were flying there. So there was no point of, by the time I was done editing, there was no point of posting it. So I do a lot of talking head videos. So that way you get me, you get like my personality. And so it's still working for attracting buyers to Tucson and sellers for St. Paul.
So I am the 60-year-old agent that has no idea what YouTube is, and I have no idea what a talking head YouTube. What is that?
Good question. In my opinion, it is the easiest way to make a video, which is sit down in your office or sit down somewhere that has good lighting. Maybe if you want to sit down outside on a park bench, totally fine too. But just sit down and share what you know. So there is an art and a science to this, but I do that's what talking head video is. Like if people were to watch this right now on YouTube, like it's literally, there's no B-roll, there's no extra, like video overlap of the Tucson landscape and aerial footage and, zoom in, zoom out. It's just me talking. Yeah. And I think it's easy. I can get to the point. I can make a lot of videos. I can batch better. So again, anything that I think I can do like sustainably, that's what I'm going to start.
Okay. No, that's 100% right. I mean, like you're not going to see a success from the first one that you spent, 3 months working on. You really need to have a lot of content, right? I mean, like you have to keep doing it to be able to see the progress or momentum.
Yeah, 100%. YouTube, I think, may be one of the most strict. By the way, I do not consider myself like a genius on YouTube at all. So if I say anything like slightly incorrect, plus the algorithms change all the time, I apologize in advance. What I have learned from my own personal experience is YouTube is one of the most strict algorithms where if you do not post consistently, you're going to stunt your growth a lot. And one of the biggest things that I learned before I even started, luckily I learned it before I started, is if you share your channel to other platforms or even via text, if you share it in any way, especially when you're first starting out, it's going to stunt your growth tremendously because chances are you're sending it to your mom, your friends that don't plan on purchasing in your city. and therefore they don't watch to the end. They click off, and that's the worst thing. That tells YouTube that you are a shit creator and not to push your videos in front of anyone else.
I get it. So it's one of those organic growth things. Like you really want that organic growth, and if you're relating that to Instagram, where they say if you buy leads, it's the kiss of death. Like if you're trying to get some bots to make your follower count look impressive, it's really the kiss of death, because then they're not going to interact with your content. So
100%.
It's not going to get out to anybody new that you actually want. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So when you're going back, you might have already said this, and I might have missed it because I was thinking about a floating head talking somewhere. When you are doing those talking head video pieces, do you have that scripted out at all? Do you write it, or can you just kind of free flow and speak clearly enough that it makes sense?
Some people can do that. I'm not there yet. I think there is a progression. So I used to start out with having to have the full script. I used to have to read. I think the more videos you post with the less time in between each video. So if it's a higher frequency, higher volume, you're going to get better, and you're going to go from needing a full script to bullet points. So now I'm still in the bullet point phase. Eventually, maybe I will go into just turning on the camera and going, but I like having a good outline as far as like the topic, repeating the title in the first 10 seconds of me opening the video to therefore reward the viewer, saying, yes, you clicked on the right video, and then going into it with a call to action in the middle, a call to action at the end, knowing what video I want to tie it into for the viewer to click on next. So it is a lot of work, like you mentioned before, it's a lot of work, but I would much rather do this than cold call any day. I cold called for 4 days and my feelings got hurt. I was like, I can't, I'm not strong enough for this.
That is tough. Kind of like door knocking too. That's fascinating. So I guess like you're planning what you're talking about. That makes sense that you do that. I know that they also make apps that are teleprompters, basically, so you can look at your phone and it's a front facing camera, so you're just kind of reading down. Did you use those at all?
I did. Yeah. And I wish I could remember the name of, Prompt Screen Pro.
Okay.
Yep. It was one of those. There are a lot of them. That's just the one that I first came across. So Prompt Screen Pro, I used it on my phone. You could also use it on your iPad. You just have to make sure that when you're at least somewhat memorizing a little bit, because otherwise it's so obvious when your eyes are darting, you're watching a YouTube video where the person is just reading, like going left and right, and like you just lose that connection.
Monotone.
And it's monotone, dude. Yeah. Like, so, but one good thing about YouTube is like there is an agent for everyone. So even if you are boring, you're going to have the client for you, and you're going to like it. But I at least try to do like a little bit, like 10% more effort when you're recording, and then back away, like physically back away from the camera enough to where your eyes don't dart.
Sure.
That's my biggest takeaway.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I was going to say too, with that line of thought, with AI being out here, if you really know, like your bullet point idea, for example, if you really know the direction that you want this video to go and the kind of order, the sequence, all that kind of stuff, you could probably get AI to fill in some content in between, you know what I mean? Like if you have the outline, solid, get AI to write the in-between script, and then you could have, more that could save a little bit of time potentially, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And once you get into like a good rhythm of talking to your editor, which is a whole nother topic of its own, as I'm recording, I talk to my editor. So especially if I'm going to be showing B-roll, like for example, I did a video on the Tucson homelessness. The city of Tucson was sued for its homelessness. And I wanted to read a specific part of the paragraph of this news article. So instead of the video focusing on me as I'm reading on the screen, I told the editor, I'm like, hey, at this point, please use this blurb and over my face. So that way it's not obvious that I'm just reading. So I do a lot of the editing up front, or rather I instruct the editor what to do up front. Like, hey, at this point, can you add some like swoosh noises or a cha-ching noise, and just like anything to keep the viewer a little bit more engaged.
So do you actually say that in the middle of recording, like you give enough of a break, they can edit that part out or whatever, and you're like, yeah, do this. Is that
oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And so then, speaking of editors, I mean, that's another thing that people probably is a barrier to entry here. Like they have no idea how to use any software. I have before, but it's it bogs me down so much. So Upwork, Fiverr, what are you doing? Like what would you recommend people do to take that off their plate?
Yeah. Well, first I would say you have to take it off your plate. Like you're not going to get your photography license or cert to take photos of your listing. So don't do the same thing with your editing. There are a couple of companies like that you can hire, and they have already found their own editors, which I think is an easier. You're paying for the convenience at that point, right. But you can let go of the middleman task of starting the job description, posting it, right. Interviewing, looking at their work, hoping that it's actually their work, and then testing it. It's just so much. So there are a couple of different companies. I use VidChops. I do have an affiliate, but like I will say, they don't. The timeliness isn't always there, so nothing is perfect. Right. But also you have to make sure that you as the content creator, you have an idea of what you're looking for at the end. Because if you don't even have an idea of where you want the video to go, your editor will definitely not have an idea. So don't blame them. It comes from you. Right. So have an idea of like what kind of the pacing that you want, the B-rolls that you want, how often you want it, the tone. So that comes from the creator, because the editors are in the Philippines or somewhere else, and like they don't sell real estate. So like right. That's where I think a lot of the agents go wrong, is they just think that someone else will magically solve their problems because they're paying for it, and that is not the case.
Right. Yeah. I mean, real quick, I've been trying to get a couple editors, and I found a decent one, and I have seen something maybe similar to what you're talking about, where you can get like a monthly subscription that basically almost unlimited editing, which I was like, later on that can be really handy. But anyway, I was doing something about mobile home parks, and I wanted some B-roll in there, and they use like RVs or something like or like a park setting, and I was like, they don't quite get what
exactly
what a mobile home park is. But that's something you learn as you go, and that's probably a big point here too, is that you're not going to start off perfect. Like what you have, I'm sure, is going to give a really good help to like get people started and understand kind of how they should structure, how they should plan, how they should create these videos. But there's no substitute for just doing reps. Like you got to get out there and do it, and you're not going to be great at it at the beginning, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. And I don't remember if I offered this website, but another one too, aside from Fiverr, is onlinejobs.ph.
Oh yeah.
That's also one too. It's like $69 a month that you could just cancel anytime once you found one. But that's going directly and like interviewing, posting, making sure that what you post is actually going to help you, So
I just use that website too for a different purpose. So it's a whole new world. And I think that's one thing that agents struggle in general, is I think they often want to be the do everything themselves, solopreneur, have a hard time starting to get past that. And so I think exercising that muscle is just really important. This could be a good way to start that process. There's a lot of things that you can do, or you can delegate in this business. And I think maybe that's a more small town kind of thing. But I feel like often people are just kind of trapped and like, they can only grow so much because they're just at capacity with doing everything themselves.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I hear this all the time too, with agents that get stuck on being too scared to delegate, even for a transaction coordinator.
Yeah. I'm
like, and it's to them, I realize that to them, it's like a chicken or the egg. Well, I can't hire one until I make a certain amount. But I'm like, you won't make that amount until you hire it out. So especially with the TC, that doesn't even get paid until the end when you close. So to me, that I think that's a no-brainer. But also like, once you start exercising that, like you said, it gets easier. Yeah. So buy back your time, Dan Markell.
Yes. That's on the list. That's one of the many books I've started. I haven't finished it yet. But 100%. And so actually with that online jobs PH thing that we just talked about, is I went through the process of hiring a virtual assistant. And I watched a video on that website. I was planning on doing this anyway, but one of the points they made was, if you hire somebody for an hourly rate, and it's part-time, pay as you go, you're not going to give them more tasks. You're going to give them a task when they're done, you're going to pay them, and that's it. But if you pay them full-time salary, you're going to have to think about how to fill up their time. And so you can start thinking about how are you going to delegate more, and how are you going to enhance your business by having this extra, person, this extra set of hands. And I think when you start thinking that way, you just really can expand. You're going to make your service to your clients way better. Like an example would be, what if you, this is probably a little bit extra, but what if you have an in-depth analysis of every house you ever show? Before you even go, here's an analysis. I think the property is overpriced or whatever. I think it's $20,000 under market. I do not have the energy or the desire to do that, but I could potentially do that with a VA. So that's the power of thinking, bigger than yourself. And again, I don't think I'm actually going to implement that idea, but that's kind of an example of where it could go.
Yeah, that's a great example. Overall, it's how can I provide even more of a service? And that's something that you can hire out. Yeah.
And I think people are often afraid too of that if they take themselves out of it, they're not going to have the same quality, they're not going to have the same service to their clients. But in reality, you can focus on the things that are your strength, and then helps with the buyback your time. Right? There's some people that are going to do things better. For me, I can analyze. I have a beautiful spreadsheet that it takes me maybe 20 minutes to really dig into all the very small minutiae of the house and do a really good analysis, almost like an appraisal. But I'm not going to be energized enough to do that for every house that I show, for example, again, using that example. But that is something that I could train somebody to do if I provide them with comps, maybe eventually be able to learn how to find good comps. If it's a townhouse, it's going to be pretty easy. But anyway, so there's a lot of exercising that muscle is just, I think, a really important thing if you are trying to grow bigger than what your own capacity is.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that I think where agents get stuck is they end up jumping to the annual salary. How much am I going to be paying them by the end of the year? And it's not that. It's as long as you tell the VA upfront, we're going to do a 60-day trial. For you, it's only 2 months. Right. Test it. And then you can switch to another one, or switch the job role, or at that point, how much, or rather how little you put into the job description. They don't really know what they're doing. So it's a matter of taking ownership, but then also don't think that it's a forever commitment. It's not. Right. You're dating. Yeah. Yeah,
no, totally. You're absolutely right. And also understand that you're going to have to train them. It's that is a job in itself. And to that point, it is also probably something you should ask yourself, if do you want that growth? Do you want to do more? And do you want to have that different responsibility? And for me, with, doing this podcast, doing, all, investing in real estate itself, and then everything I'm doing, writing a book, all that stuff, I'm I need to learn this. I need to get better at this to do everything I'm trying to do. So it's hands down makes sense to me. But I have another friend, you have that story about the guy that goes to Mexico and sees a fisherman that goes out and casts his net and comes back as soon as he has enough for the day to get some food, drink some wine, play guitar. And then he's if you just stay out there a little bit longer and you caught more fish, you can buy another boat and you can build your company up, and then you would have people working for you. And he's yeah, but okay, so then what? And he's like, well, so that you could eat your food and drink some wine and play guitar. And I have people that they do kind of what they want every year. They take long vacations and they're super happy with it. And I don't think that's necessarily I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. So I think it's also just kind of determining what you want out of this. And if it is to grow bigger, delegation is a huge thing.
Definitely. And having like over time, the more what's interesting is finding a good editor or finding a good partner or finding like really anything, I think comes from you doing the work up front. You know, like the more in the beginning, I couldn't find an editor to save my life, but the more videos that I posted, the more I had people reaching out to me. And so it's like overall, the more that you put into it, the more you'll realize what you're looking for. And like building your life by design as a real estate agent, like for example, how I'm selling homes from across the country without even being in Tucson. I know that like I fell in love with the act of prospecting. I love it. I love prospecting. I don't like driving around. So I have partnered with a bunch of agents. And so they're the ones who help me. Either sometimes we do, you know, like a split, or I'll pay them per door to open the doors, and to sit in during the home inspections, because an agent has to be there in the state of Arizona throughout the whole home inspection, stuff like that. But overall, it's like it really is. The more you do, the more you will realize what you like doing and what you don't. And the faster you can partner with someone that likes doing what you don't, like your world begins and you can fish and, you know, be with your family every day.
Playing guitar and drinking wine.
Playing guitar.
That's so cool. I actually just interviewed somebody who sells in San Francisco and lives most of the year in Panama. And
whoa.
It's just crazy the world that there could be out there for agents, you know, that think that they again have to do everything themselves. So that's really fascinating that the way you work that out. I kind of assumed you were just mostly doing referrals once you get that prospect, but it sounds like you can definitely have full, you know, walking your clients through the whole deal, even not being
Yeah. So I tend to do a mixture. I work with the clients directly if I'm requested by name. And or I will work with them directly if I have not yet capped. So every year, until I hit my cap, I will work with them directly. So I'll sell like around 7 homes ish, and then I cap, and then the rest for the rest of the year will just be outbound referrals. So that's how I figured it out as far as the math goes with EXP. So I can make Icon and get that entire cap back. So that's just like my tempo as of now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I feel like we have so much we can talk about. Let's. You mentioned a book already, but I want to hear what if you have a favorite book that's been, you know, either foundational for you in your business or one that you just currently really like.
Yeah, it's so hard to pick one because I have 2 right now. If I were to pick one, I think it would be Traction by Gino Wickman, which is, you know, tried and true. It's crazy that I haven't even read Rocket Fuel yet. It's one of those books that I've started time and time again. And I'm like, wait, I want to dedicate even more time to this book. So therefore I can't open it yet. Right. But Traction is so good. I started it in the beginning, like when I first got licensed. So I thought at the time, not everything applied to me because I didn't have employees. You know, I didn't have even a virtual assistant at the time, but it's really good to start learning and reading about what you're going to grow into and the future problems that you will have. So my biggest takeaway from that book was how every employee and everybody in your community of like your staff should have a number, because numbers run the business. You know, what gets measured gets improved. So from that, my biggest takeaway was my number is 6. I needed to have 6 conversations about real estate every single day in order to make the income that I wanted to make. So that is how I have sold 100 homes in 3 years. I just hit my 3-year mark and just hit 100 homes. Nice. But like, yeah, thank you. And then, so that's what I tell like all the agents that end up, I'll fast forward a little bit. Over time, I ended up realizing that, yes, I love helping buyers and sellers, but because of my background with the military, where I actually was not happy, I was pretty depressed. I had a lot of anxiety. I needed to get out of the military. I found that my biggest passion is helping other people get into real estate sales as a full-time job. Like that is because I was there, you know, like I was in their shoes. Yeah. Oh man, that like fills my soul. So I have a number. That's like the number that I tell other agents too. Like, hey, if you don't want to run the numbers, start with the number 6. Not 6 hellos, not 6 dials, 6 conversations about real estate. Whether that takes you 6 initiations to start or 106. Like, end every single day with 6 conversations about real estate, providing value. Not being that person that's like, hey, do you know anybody looking to buy or sell? Right. So that's how I've been able to help. So far, 5 agents make 120 their first year with us. I'm pumped. Like, that's awesome. Because that was exactly my goal. My first year was to replace my major income.
Yeah, that's great growth. I mean, that's awesome for the first couple of years. That's huge. I mean, that's so hard. And I mean, I think that really, that's why a lot of agents fail, is that they don't really have. They think it's going to be easy. They say 87% of agents fail in the first 5 years. They think it's going to be easy, and they think that it's just going to be glamorous. It's not always. And if you don't have daily actions that you take, it's hard to really guarantee you're going to be getting somewhere in your sales. So that's a really good tip.
Yeah. Thank you. I love it. That's where I was like, I love this. I love helping other agents give their middle finger to their employer so they could be a full-time, work for themselves, like just the way that I did. I'm like, this feels good.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, and now if people wanted to reach out to you, or do you have any resources that you already mentioned the YouTube video? So remind us where that is, and if there's anywhere else people can reach out to you.
Yeah. I love helping agents. So I'm on Instagram primarily. So Ali the Agent, Ali spelled ALI. So if you DM me the word video, I'll send you the list of 20 titles to get started with, because a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to make a channel. I'm a little bit scared, but what do I say? What videos do I post? That's where I'll you can start the 20, and those primarily will help you get listings. So YouTube isn't just for buyers. But yeah, otherwise just hit me up on Ali the Agent. I'm happy to help in any way that I can.
I'm going to be sending that video message to you as we
do it. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Happy to help.
Well, thank you so much, Ali. It's been a really fun conversation for me. I'm sure everybody else got a ton of value. I know that I've been kind of zeroing in a little bit more about the content creation, so it's been right up my alley. And I know that a lot of people are intrigued by it as well. So it's been a great conversation. Thanks so much. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the REI Agent.
If you enjoyed this episode, hit subscribe to catch new shows every week.
Visit reiagent.com for more content.
Until next time, keep building the life you want.
All content in the show is not investment advice or mental health therapy. It is intended for